Every single person in this movie deserved to die.
Critique is so limiting and emotionally draining.
I'm Lindsay, and this is my review for Velvet Buzzsaw. I wasn't gonna watch this movie. I saw the trailer for it. It looked kind of interesting, a little creepy, and the name sounded interesting as well. And I really liked Jake Gyllenhaal. I really liked Nightcrawler, which this guy wrote and directed as well, and also stars some of the same people. So I decided to give this a shot. And pretty much the basic storyline is there's all these people in the art world. Most of them are art dealers and art agents and art critics. And their lives are intermeshed with one another. They kind of feed off of one another. And this girl who works at one of these studios, a man dies in her apartment building, and she discovers that he has all of this created artwork that the building manager was just going to throw away. And she thinks it's fabulous and fantastic, so she steals all of it. And everyone else thinks it's amazing and fantastic, so they construct this storyline about how she found it in the garbage, and the man doesn't have any family or friends to come asking for it anyways. So they pretty much steal this dead guy's artwork and start selling it and showing it and taking ownership of it. And it kind of serves as a mummy's curse type of thing, because each person that profited off his artwork ends up dying in horrible ways. Horrible and stupid ways. There were parts of this movie that I really liked, but very few of them had to do with what was actually going on. I really liked Jake Gyllenhaal's performance. I thought he was good. It's shot very beautifully. There's these aerial shots of Los Angeles that are just gorgeous. They're just gorgeous. They don't look real. They're just amazing. And it opens in Miami at Art Basel. And for those of you that don't know, Art Basel is this yearly art event in Miami, and it's huge. It's very well covered by the media. Tons of celebrities and famous people and rich people go there. It's a to-do. And it opens up with Jake Gyllenhaal's character walking in, and you get to know all these people and how they interact with each other, and you see other people interacting in this art area. And I lived in Miami for a little while, and I met some of these type of people, and they pretty much nailed it with the pretension and the stuffiness and the loftiness and grandiose nature of the way these people talk and interact with other people and just express themselves. And it's very judgy and very superficial.
I'm quite curious to know what you think.
I think sober hasn't been good for him.
Pierce was in the full bloom of alcoholism here.
Exactly.
Now, technically, this is a horror comedy, I would say. All the stuff where they're making fun of the modern art world and how modern art can be laughable at sometimes to a lot of people, I think they did an okay job with that. I just wish they would have pushed it even further. And then when it comes to the horror aspects of it, the deaths weren't really that interesting. They weren't surprising in any way. A lot of them didn't really make sense. And just some of the mechanisms of how this curse works didn't really translate, because they're killed by pieces of art. They're not his art, they're other pieces of art. So somehow he can get to them through any piece of art at all, which there was no establishment of rules or mythology with this movie, and that's where it really fell short. And like the girl who lived in the apartment building with the guy who died, her death made absolutely no sense. It's very supernatural in that they're in these spaces that don't exist and no one else can see, and that's when the death happens. But then there's very real consequences. So it's just very unbalanced, I would say. And like with Jake Gyllenhaal's death, the hobo man comes and kills him. Well, how did the hobo man get there? Is it a supernatural hobo man, or is it the actual hobo man that's been possessed and sent after him? Because as we see with the ending, if you are around any piece of art is when the curse can attack. But if it can supernaturally manifest any kind of art, then you're kind of screwed no matter what. So that's where it just started to fall apart. And the whole title of Velvet Buzzsaw, it means nothing in the greater scheme of the film. It's just Rene Russo's character. She used to be in this punk band called Velvet Buzzsaw, and she has this tattoo on the back of her neck of a buzzsaw, and it says Velvet Buzzsaw. And the only purpose it serves is so that at the end, after she's gotten rid of all the art in her house, she's got this piece of art on her neck. And I'm sorry, that tattoo is not a piece of art, it's a piece of shit. It's a terrible tattoo. The buzzsaw revs up and like burrows into her neck or something. We just see the beginnings of the blood spreading out. We don't actually see what happens, but that's the only, it seems like that was the only point of that, was so that she'd have a way to still die even though she got rid of all the art. It just seemed kind of lazy. I don't know. By the end, I was like, I'm glad all these people died because none of them are likable. Jake Gyllenhaal is a little bit, just because you kind of feel bad for him because his girlfriend cheats on him and people are lying about him, and he's actually trying to stop it once he figures out what is going on. But he's still a horrible person who profited off this dead guy and has profited off other people and given people bad reviews just because someone else asked them to.
Something truly goddamn strange is going on!
Another person I really liked in it was John Malkovich, because he was just kind of above it all and back from it. He played an artist, a very famous, wealthy, well-known artist that is represented by this gallery that Rene Russo owns. And he kind of senses what is going on with this artwork, I think, and he removes himself from it completely, and at the end he's happy on the beach drawing sand circles, so he's gonna be just fine. I thought Toni Collette was good. Her and her extremely blunt haircut fit that part very well. Again, she was an awful, awful person, and you didn't care when she died. Really, the only person I had any type of sympathy for was the girl who kept getting hired by people as their assistant, because she found everyone's dead body. She would get hired by someone, and then the curse would hit them, they'd get killed, and she would find their dead body. It happened over and over and over again, and then she just ended up going back to, I think Michigan is where she was from. And it's funny, by the time she finds Jake Gyllenhaal's dead body, she's just like, oh, not again, another dead body, another job is gone. But overall, this movie is kind of dumb, kind of useless, I would say. It had some neat ideas going on, but no real follow through.
No originality. No courage. My opinion.
There's another cool sequence where you think you're looking at a family in a house that are watching television, and one of the kids is looking in the refrigerator for something to eat, and on the TV is like lotto numbers being drawn, and you think you're looking at an actual scene, and then all of a sudden Rene Russo's character walks in and you realize it's some weirdo art installation. That was a neat sequence. And another very funny part is when Toni Collette's character gets killed. She gets killed in the middle of this art exhibit in Los Angeles. And she gets killed by one of the pieces of artwork there, and her dead body and a bunch of blood is there when they open the doors the next morning. And the people working there thought it was just a piece of modern art. And there's tourists coming in, and there's a school group coming in to take a tour, and they just think this dead body in a giant pool of blood is a piece of art until the poor assistant comes in and recognizes what has happened and starts screaming her head off. That part is kind of funny. And the name of the guy that they take the artwork from, his last name is Dees, and his last name is Dees, and they kept calling him Dees. It's a Dees showing, and this is another piece by Dees, and it just, the whole thing, I just kept thinking of the Dees nuts meme the whole time. Every time they said it, I wanted to say Dees nuts. That's how checked out I was of this movie. And probably my favorite line from the movie is, what good is art if no one sees it? That's the mindset of these people. They're just terrible. And they deserved everything they got. So I would not recommend this movie. I mean, if you're stuck in bed sick and you need something to watch, I still wouldn't recommend it. None of the deaths are very interesting or dynamic. You don't see a lot of gore or anything like that. So yeah, I'd skip Velvet Buzzsaw.
We're trending on Instagram. It's a major hit.
Well, that's gonna do it for this review. Until next time, this is Lindsay signing off. I'll check you later.